So Subtlety Rogue has been buffed again on patch 12.0.5. So we're gonna go through a quick guide just to see everything that changed from the rotation, the stats, so you guys can be sure on how to play Subtlety Rogue on the beginning of this patch and get 90 parses starting today. So let's get right onto the guide. So we can start with the rotation, and the rotation it's straight the same on everything except on the opener. Because right now, if you have been playing Subtlety, you may have noticed that your first Shadow Strike doesn't give you as much combo points as it did on the last week. So the only thing that you might have to do now is that instead of opening with one Shadow Strike, it's gonna be better just to start with Shuriken Storm just to fully accumulate the combo points. Then you can go to the regular burst, which is Shadow Blades with Shadow Dance and Secret Technique after. Of course, if you guys don't know, when you activate the Shadow Dance with this build, we get 2 supercharged combo points, which are gonna be the blue combo points that you're gonna have on the left part of the combo points. Those combo points are gonna give us a lot more damage than the normal 7 combo points that you basically use every time. Always want to use the first or at least one of those supercharged combo points with Secret Technique, because it's gonna give you the much output damage possible. The other thing is whenever you have the Shadow Dance active, if you Shadow Strike or use Shuriken Storm, you're gonna see that you always activate the Apex talent, and that's a good thing that you can always utilize when playing Subtlety. So for the AoE rotation, that's the only thing that changed. It's that you basically have to start, if you have a lot of screens on the target, with Shuriken Storm instead of Shadow Strike. But keep in mind that if you start with Shadow Strike, that gives you another buff that increases your damage. If you want to have that maximum full damage output, you can always start with the Shadow Strike, but just keep in mind that you might have to do 1 or 2 backstabs to get the full combo points before you start using the full burst with Shadow Blades and everything. For the AoE rotation, that's it, and we're gonna go through now the single target rotation. So for the single target rotation, it's literally the same. We always have to use Shadow Strike just to accumulate combo points, and use a backstab to get to the full combo points before we use the burst again. Same on the AoE, but right here we are not using Shuriken Storm to get combo points faster. We are just using backstab and Shadow Strike. As we can see here on the dungeon, on the single target, we actually gain a lot of damage. The damage ramps up a lot, and if you always use the Secret Technique inside of one of the supercharged combo points, as you can see, it ramps up a lot of the damage. So you always want to use the Secret Technique inside of one of the supercharged combo points. So the damage, it's very good, even on AoE and single target. For the single target, it might be, if not the best, because of Outlaw recent buffs, it's gonna be really close to the best rogue spec on single target. But for the rotations, that's how we apply it now. So for the talents, this is the talents that we are using for the raid. The only thing that changes, of course, it's here the cloud cover, that we are actually gonna be nerfed on the next patch, on the next week. We're gonna go talk this on the next video that we're gonna do, but I can say you now that we're gonna be nerfed if you guys didn't saw the recent class changes. So for the Mythic Plus, the only thing that changes is that these 2 talents over here that make us have more damage on Black Powder and Eviscerate. Now for the stats, what you want for the stats, you want Haste, after that you want Crit, then Mastery and Versa for last. Of course you don't need much haste, because around 700 points of haste it's good, because your Secret Technique and Shadow Dance both increase with your haste, and even the cooldown duration of Secret Technique it's reduced with your haste, so you always want to have that certain amount, which is around 700 if you don't use haste trinket. So keep in mind that, and try to always have the stats on the right point. Alright, so right now we can go through some common mistakes that I see most rogue players doing, especially the new ones. So the first mistake that I see, it's spending wrong the combo points. Right now, with the current state of Subtlety, we can have basically always full combo points if you utilize well our Apex talent. And as we talked on the beginning of the video, if you have Shadow Dance active and you use either Shadow Strike or Shuriken Storm, it will always proc the Apex talent. So you always have to keep in mind that even on the end of, for example, the Shadow Dance, if you see many of my recent clips of the bosses that I did on the recent raids, when I have my Shadow Dance reaching the last second, I always try to use Shadow Strike to see if I can proc the Apex talents one last time before Shadow Dance ends, so I can have another full combo points and the increased damage of the Apex talent itself. The second mistake, it's not using secret technique inside dance, always. You always want to use, as we already talked, you always want to use secret technique inside the first seconds of Shadow Dance, because you always have the two supercharged combo points, and we always want to utilize that with secret technique and Cup of Grace if you have that with the 4 stacks of the capstone that we already talked on our first guide of subtlety. That's of course gonna be on the top right corner of the video. So you never want to use secret technique outside of dance. The only situation that I actually use secret technique outside of dance, it's when our cooldowns are not completely aligned with the shadow blades. And if, for example, I have like 30 seconds left on cooldown on shadow blades, and if I have available the secret technique and dance is going to be available in like 18 seconds, I can use secret technique just to align the cooldowns with shadow dance and shadow blades. That's the only situation that I would recommend you guys just to use secret technique outside of dance. Except that you always want to use inside of dance. Right guys, so this guide has come to an end. This was just a quick update to the last guide that we did. Of course, if you guys still have some problems with the rotations and everything, you always can check the other guides that I did before. They are always going to be, of course, on the description of the video, and they are going to pop up on the top right corner of the video. Thank you again, guys, for all the support that you guys have been giving me the last few days and the last weeks. Thank you again for watching, guys. My name is Mujget, and I see you on the next video.